It's great to be back.
Thank you for being on our program. How you like your new job?
Oh, I love it. It's like getting out of a cage. I'm working all over the country, trying to take the conservative message directly to the American people. That's the key. It's one thing to have the right policies, which Heritage does, but we haven't done enough to convince Americans that these ideas make their lives better. So a big part of what I want to do is figure out how to connect with the American people in a way that makes sense to them. We're going to step outside the political, partisan framework and just talk person to person, American to American. I spent most of my life in advertising and marketing, and I know that we're not doing a good job connecting with people with the ideas that will make their lives better.
How many years were you in the U.S. Senate?
I was in the Senate 8 years and the House 6 years.
What part of South Carolina are you from?
I'm from the upstate, Greenville, South Carolina.
The Piedmont?
Piedmont, yes.
That's what they call it. And I've also learned that you don't call it Clemson.
No,
it's Clemson, right?
It's like it's got a P in it or something, but
yeah.
It's not the way the announcers do it on TV.
I know, and I say it's that to somebody from your part of the country, and they always correct me. No, it's Clemson, but it has a P in it.
Yeah, Clemson. It's just easier to call them the Tigers.
Hey, whatever you want to call it, I'll just try to get it right.
Right.
Well, Jim? You're out of the Senate now. You're into the Heritage Foundation, so you're into the advocacy part of politics and government. What do you see? The reason I wanted to have you on, I read your piece. We could talk for a long time. We'll have you back on to talk more length about different issues, but I want to talk to you in particular about this whole issue of the debt ceiling and budget issues that keep coming up. Seems like we're living in Groundhog Day here.
Yeah.
Every few months these kind of things are coming up, and it's like the president and the Republicans are loggerheads, and what are we going to do, and fiscal cliff that, and this, that, and the other. What is going on up there as you see it?
Well, this is one of the places where we have to figure out how to help Americans see that all of this spending and borrowing and debt is going to hurt them personally. It will diminish their future. It will result in less opportunities for children and grandchildren, less security and safety. And that's part of what I want to do. I know where this big government, union control, big spending ends up. You can look at Greece and Europe or Illinois, but you can look at Detroit. Now that's after over 50 years of liberal progressive control, they're bankrupt. Unemployment is 40% for Hispanics and African Americans. Only 7% of eighth graders read at the grade level. Over 400 liquor stores in Detroit, but not one chain supermarket. I could go on, but this hurts people. And so it sounds like America's busy raising kids, working. What does a debt and printing money have to do with them? Their paycheck's worth less. Their future's not as bright. We've got to figure out how to make this important. The problem we have in Washington is the one who is elected to lead is not leading. He hasn't come out with a serious budget since he's been in office. And so he's leaving it to just one part of Congress, the Republicans in the House, to move first so he can criticize it. But the Republicans are trying to put our country on a path to balance our budget in 10 years. And that means that we stop spending more than we're bringing in the 10th year. That's not too much to ask, but the Democrats get their power from growing government and spending, and it is just a dangerous situation for our country when we're spending and borrowing almost half of everything we're spending now. The Federal Reserve is printing money and buying our own debt. That's like paying off one credit card with another. And the president's acting like the problem is with those who are trying to stop the spending. So it's a challenge for us at Heritage to try to help people see that this is an issue that's very personal to them, and it could hurt them if we don't change it. So we're changing the debate to balance the budget in 10 years, helping people see that's reasonable. It's going to be hard because the president's going to say people will be starving in the street. They're going to cut your Social Security and Medicare like they always do. But he has not proposed anything except to nearly double our debt.
Senator Jim DeMint with us. He's formerly in the U.S. Senate. Now he serves as the president of the Heritage Foundation. About that, I wanted to ask you, President Obama, whether you agree with him or not politically, I mean, he's obviously an intelligent man. He understands numbers, I think. So he has to look at the same figures that you're talking about, and yet he has done nothing to try to get balance in our federal government spending.
Right.
Nothing. I mean, in fact, racked up $6 trillion of debt on his watch. Does that tell you that he doesn't care, or he doesn't? In other words, he knows that this is a train wreck ahead,
Right.
and yet he does nothing to stop it. I don't understand how a man could have a conscience and oversee this.
You can. His chief of staff, Raul Emanuel, once said, "Don't let a good crisis go to waste." What they understand on the liberal side is that the failures of their policies actually have empowered them to actually advance their policies. A financial economic crisis, allows the president to reconfigure our whole economic and cultural system and to redistribute the wealth the way he wants.
That's kind of diabolical, isn't it?
Well, no, it is from our perspective, because we believe and know that it's wrong and it hurts people. Part of what we do at Heritage is just look at the history of the whole world and see that Obama's policies hurt people. But he believes that this is going to help people by giving them more control, redistributing the wealth, and helping people's lives. The problem is what we've seen is when these policies go in place, the wealth disappears. The poor do not get better off. It's just that those who are the job creator class begin to decline. So this is a battle of ideas. It's a different worldview. It's kind of secular, socialistic view versus what I see a faith and freedom view, and they're just polar opposites. So folks wonder why we can't compromise. When one person's going a completely opposite direction, it's hard to work with them, and that's where we are in Washington. And it is really up to the people to decide. And if we can't help them see where we're headed and that they have to help us change the direction, then the country will hit a wall, and a lot of people will suffer.
Yeah, Jim DeMint with us from the Heritage Foundation. Well, Jim, keep advancing conservative ideas there in Washington, D.C. They're called conservative ideas. In my mind, they're just common sense. You're talking common sense ideas that have worked traditionally for America.
Well, that's exactly the key. We're talking about ideas that we know work.
Yes.
We can prove it. But we haven't done a good job communicating that to the voters.
Yeah.
And that's what my challenge is here at Heritage, is not only to present the best policies to lawmakers, but take a campaign to the American people that connects with their minds and hearts and enlist them to help us.
Senator Jim DeMint with us from the Heritage. What's the Heritage Foundation? What's your guys' website?
Heritage.org. Come see us.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
All righty. Bye-bye.